Welcome to the Dental and Mental Podcast. I'm Dr. Galen Dietrich.
I'm Dr. Davina Dietrich.
And we are going to be talking to you about the business and the mindset of dentistry.
Welcome back to the Dental and Mental Podcast.
Hi.
I'm Dr. Galen Dietrich.
I'm Dr. Davina Dietrich.
Sometimes it feels weird saying that, doesn't it? Like the full title. Just be like, I'm G.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you want people to call you?
Yeah, I think so. I think G Money. I like that one. You know, that seems like
people do call you that in your real life.
They do.
Yeah.
Not sure how that ever caught on. I was pretty poor at the time.
Oh, maybe it was like future casting.
Oh, that's probably what it was.
That's nice.
They were trying to help me manifest.
Right. Yeah. Well, it worked, I guess, right?
You look beautiful today, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love the podcast is because it gives me the chance to play dress up in my closet.
I know. I was actually like very much just kind of sizing you up. You have a few things that are quite, unique and exquisite. Your shirt.
Yeah.
No one can see your shirt.
Oh.
But you might maybe give them a little glimpse.
Can you see it? Yeah. It says got raw milk. Which we are like very large consumers of.
We actually keep an entire farm in business with just our family.
Yeah.
What is it, like 6 gallons a week or 7 gallons a week?
Yeah. And we've been doing this for years. It's like before it was trendy. So
we were going through our budget actually, and I realized how much we were spending on raw milk.
Yeah, it's wild.
Just going to work an extra day. A day or two, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's the shirt. You have the shoes.
I know. I don't think you can see my shoes. Can you, Dylan? Let's see. Can you see them? Are they somewhere?
He's like, not so much. Oh.
You do have the price tag.
No, actually, I don't care because that's part of like the genius of these shoes. Okay, well,
is the price tag on the bottom?
No, this is the first time I've worn them, but they came at a very special rate.
This is what she says about all purchases. It was a special, which in fairness, I say about everything I get from Home Depot.
That's true. Well, so these shoes are actually very special because I had to pull some strings to be able to get them.
Do tell.
So
do fill us in.
Okay, so I have an essay in Canada.
A what?
Essay, like a sales associate, not like a homie.
I was thinking a homie.
Yeah.
I have an essay?
Just because I'm Latina doesn't mean that I'm like...
You're Latina from Bloomfield. I know. I don't know.
No, I'm not calling... not like my essay, like a homeboy.
Sales associate. It's an acronym.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, not a homie.
Now I feel like I need
But
an
he
essay.
is a homie. Because... So the point of this is I really wanted these boots. Okay.
They are cool.
They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Okay. They were quite expensive. And when I think about purchases, I like to think about a cost per wear, right? Like how much am I really going to
cost per wear?
Yeah. Women do this. I don't know if men do this. No, men don't do this. Cause you're like,
no.
Every man I think gets his cost per wear for an item down to like 4 pennies.
Yes.
Or less,
yes.
Like less than pennies, right? Women, some of us think about cost per wear. Like, okay, this item is how many times am I going to wear it? Is it going to be worth it? Every time I wear these shoes, it's going to be, $75 unless I can get my cost per wear down, right?
Yeah.
So for these, the original price, I was like, no, the cost per wear, the math just doesn't work out. Okay.
Math isn't math.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So my essay at Saks in Canada was like, I have the boots in your size, and they just went on massive discount. And I was like, say no more. Let's do it. Call me right now. I'll give you my credit card information.
Okay.
And he was like, well, the problem is you're in the States and I'm in Canada and I can only ship to Canada.
Why?
I don't know. Something with it being Saks in Canada. I can only deliver in Canada. Maybe the Saks in Canada and the United States are not connected. I don't know.
Maybe they're not on speaking terms.
Well, maybe we don't know. I don't know the foreign policy of Saks internationally. Okay.
Seems like something you should know if you have an essay.
Yeah. Anyways, but that was the rule. And so I'm like, well, hold please, I will figure this out. I'm not letting these babies slip by my fingers at a 70% discount. Like, no, sir, I will solve this problem.
Okay.
So we have a doctor in Thrive that is in Canada.
They have several, actually.
Yes.
But Canada is large, so
It doesn't matter. He just needed a Canadian address.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it just had to be in Canada. So shout out to Zara.
Zara.
It was Zara. Yeah, it was Zara.
No kidding.
Yes, it was Zara who came down.
Is that our Wayland? We could be any number of the Canadian dogs.
We have a lot of Canadians, but I think I could have called Wayland, but Zara, I knew she would get it. You know what I mean? If I call a man, and that's also odd.
Although Wayland is a very well dressed man.
He is. That is very true.
Yes.
But I called Zara, who was coming down to do an in-person at Vita a few months later, anyways. Mm-hmm. So we were already in contact with stuff like that.
I remember that she said this at dinner.
Yes, we were already in contact talking about coming to Vita anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
So I called her and I was like, hey, I know this is a really weird ask. Would you mind if I used your home address to get a pair of boots shipped there? And would you also mind shipping them to me? And of course, I'll pay you for your time, effort, energy, and shipping costs, of course. And she was so kind and so generous. And she was like, yes, of course. And she was like, can you at least send me a picture so I know like how good are these boots? She was like, oh yeah, they're good. Okay.
Oh man, bless her. Zara's awesome.
She's absolutely incredible. So
that's
she was so kind, so generous, so understanding, and willing to do that because that's like she does not have enough on her plate. She's an incredibly productive dentist with a family and all these other things. And so I was really thankful that she did that for me. But yeah, that's how I got these. So these are very special for a couple of reasons.
Yes, they are. Well, and I just love Fendi. I think Fendi's just amazing at design that's minimal, but also just so eye-catching.
It depends on what era, what head designer. There's a lot that goes into it, but that is
you would know far more than
that is for another podcast.
Let's just say the Fendi that you choose, I tend to like quite a bit.
Oh, me too. Timeless, good cost per wear.
That's what they say. This is the first time she's wearing them, so the cost per wear is still pretty high.
Well, that's true. But in my defense, it's only been fall today. Today is the first day of fall. So
is it actually the literal first day of fall?
Today is the literal first day of fall. So when was the 21st? When was I supposed to wear them? In the summer?
I mean, high boots. I'd like getting them year round.
No, the high boots are not. They're not for summer unless you're a cowboy, which I am not. So
thank you. I'm glad we made that distinction.
I know, but next year I may be. So stay tuned, people.
Too good. Okay. All right. I got you so far.
Okay. So yes. Anyways.
Cool. I love them. I love them.
Which actually brings up something that you and I were talking about, which is having a really good network.
Yeah. Yeah. Network, you always hear the little trite sayings like network is your net worth kind of stuff and little gitchy cliches. But I think a network is a relatively untapped resource for most people.
Yes.
Because I don't think people see the value that a network can give you. It's far beyond connection. Far beyond. It really goes deep into the recesses of having not only a monetary side of things, of course, but access to places that you could never get potentially, right?
Absolutely.
Or places that'd be a lot harder for you to get. The condensing of timelines for you, right? I mean, sometimes some of the best stories in history are that, right? A person slaving away and took one phone call from one person and that thing got done. It's like, man, you could have labored for a decade and never gotten any closer. And it just took one person's reputation that moved mountains for you. But how's this pair up? You're saying network. Oh, because of Zara being in Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. That was the point.
I was trying to make that connection. Obviously, I was slow.
No,
I'm slow.
That was the point. Is that I was saying, had there not been anybody there who was willing to do that.
Yeah.
These, this is a silly example. Obviously, there's nothing. I mean, I wouldn't say nothing on the line. These babies were on the line, and here they are. And so,
yes.
but it's easy. I think, again, this story is silly, so I'm very mindful and aware of that. But the point of it is still remains, right? It's easy to give up on things when you don't see a way to access something yourself, you personally.
Yeah.
And a lot of avenues start to open up when you start to consider, but who do I know? Who can I call? Who can I ask? Most people are afraid to ask anybody anything.
Oh, 100%.
So even if you have an amazing network, if you're too afraid to ask anybody a question, that network is as good as zero. You won't ask them for anything. So
I mean, your patient pool's a network, and how many dentists are not even remotely touching the wealth that is within that patient population, from connections to marketing to I mean, even just community, the community aspect.
We had a really nice hotel stay.
Yes, we did. We had a great hotel stay.
A few weeks ago, compliments of one of your patients.
Custom everything, top to bottom, champagne, handwritten card.
Right.
Yeah.
A beautiful experience.
But I think that does bring up, well, this is actually a good topic, I suppose, because there's a lot of elements to this. You cannot expect your network to do much of anything for you unless you've invested in that network. And so, for example, if that patient, let's say, was a new patient and I wasn't there that day to say hi, Devin saw him, and I try to pull from that resource or make a connection, but I have never talked to this person. They just happen to be in the practice pool, let's say.
Right.
Is that person going to make the same type of effort? Probably not.
Well, those are called users, and they get cut out. Right? Those are
users and abusers. Yeah.
Those people are called users, and they get sniffed out and cut out very quickly.
And that's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because we all know those people, and if you've been around long enough, especially in any business capacity, you know when you're being used.
Yeah. Well, I think you may not make a move on that right away. Some people don't, but you're absolutely right. I think you can feel it. It's not a good feeling when you're being used or manipulated or taken advantage of.
Right. Well, especially when you think that it's in the context of friendship.
Right.
We were talking to a friend the other day about this.
Yeah.
Right. Where he said he's had to remove friends because he thought it was a friendship, and he realized that those people were around trying to get business opportunities that when he thought it was a friendship, and they only wanted him for something else.
This is an interesting thought around this. I haven't thought this through very well, but it's coming to me. The idea that if you don't need a lot, right? And you have a great connection with somebody, they're in your network, and you're pouring into each other from that perspective of really, I guess kind of more of a mutual beneficence. And again, you don't need their help because you're doing well yourself. You tend to actually be able to accelerate the access that person can give you, because there's never that feeling of being taken advantage of, right? And I guess what I'm getting at is this gentleman that you're talking about has been it's my longest running friend to date. And what's interesting about that is that I've known this cat for, 20 plus years. And it was never, in both of our lowest points, we've been there, right? In terms of financial and relationship, everything else. And never asking anything of each other that way. Mm-hmm. But as we've both become much more successful as businessmen, we're starting to find these ways of being able to help one another that are just, it's like, of course, absolutely. The people he's talked about are those that didn't actually do so well. And now they're asking and they're cozying up. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, again, I haven't thought the idea through fully, but I think that's part of what people can sniff out is that, well, I've made a lot of hard decisions to get here. And I've made a lot of sacrifices to get here. And I don't mind helping you, but it doesn't seem like you're pulling your weight either. You're kind of just waiting for me to take care of your bad decisions.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a riding on a coattails type of situation.
That would be the succinct way of saying what I was going for. Yeah. Just cut the rest of that, Dylan.
We call that riding coattails.
So good. So good. I was just trying to get the context,
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm into it.
No, networks are. Why do you think it is that people don't really understand the value of a network? Are they not taught it? Are they too afraid to ask? Are they not up to value in their own way? Are they going to be riding coattails when they ask for something? What's the reason?
So I think it's a couple of things. I do think that I think people have a lot of shame around asking. I think especially
That's true.
depending on your mindset, right? If you're raised in a earn everything you have kind of household and mentality, which I think is a fantastic way to be
That's the way I was raised.
Yeah, same, right? That's a great way. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that when you do have that mentality, you and I both grew up that way, right? You earn everything that you get. It is a shameful thing to ask somebody for something. Like I was taught that it was a shameful thing to ask somebody for something.
Yeah.
For example, I was not allowed to ask family members for Christmas presents. If they asked me, like my grandpa, right? If my grandpa said, "What do you want for Christmas?" It was okay for me to give a preference list or whatever. Like these things would be nice, but it was always, you are not to ask for something. You are not to go over to somebody's house and ask for something. If you would like, if you're hungry, you wait till somebody is offering you something, but you are not to go in there and say, "Hey, do you have anything to eat?" So I think for me personally, that was really something that was beaten to my head. Like it is very impolite to ask for something. Now, when you become a business owner or when you start talking about sales, the mentality completely switches, right? The whole thing is ask, 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 ask. Turn over every rock that you possibly can. Get kicked in the teeth, collect your nose.
Yeah.
That's the new game. And so then you've got to be out years of the way that you were raised. If you are raised to think that asking for something is very impolite, now you have to retrain yourself to think that asking for things is a good thing.
I love that you bring up the dichotomy of two different ways of approaching it, or almost like two different phases. I was raised similar to you. And one of the examples I think of is that I was really kind of told not to ask for a raise. You just work hard and you will be noticed for that.
Yep.
Right. I was literally just talking to one of my hygienists about this today as we were, she's part of our kind of like our management team, and we're going to be coming up on, end of the year, and the conversation around salary increases and such will come up. And it was interesting because she comes from the similar perspective that I did, which is, you work hard and you'll be noticed for that. And in so many ways, that's a really good way of doing things, right? Like be quiet, keep your head down, work hard, go above and beyond, be proactive. And the right person is going to see that, and they're going to be grateful for that, and they'll reward you in some way, fashion, or form. But then there's the flip side of that, which is where you might be with somebody who either doesn't see it or is not the right fit. And so being able to stand up for yourself, that's the business of you. So there's the business side that does have to be able to ask for what it needs and wants for the next step. And there's also that other person, which is more of the servant side, right? That all of us should have as well. And it's that capacity to constantly give without always asking for something in return for that.
Yeah.
That's tough in a marriage. Marriage has the same thing, right? There's in any relationship, you kind of have that dichotomy of those two pieces.
Yeah.
But
not wanting to get into a tit for tat and.
Right. I mean, a large part of our marriage in general really got so much healthier and better and grew exponentially when we took more of that mentality of not get what I can for myself, but very much submit, serve, be there for the other person, and trust that that other person also is in the same game, that they want that for you as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the asking questions piece brings up another facet.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you're curious about accessing that next level of your network, then ThriveX is the place to be. Head over to thrivedentist.com and click on the ThriveX tab. Hit apply, and we'll see you soon.
Which is maybe you're not asking for something, but it's really hard to know if you're hitting the mark if you don't know what the mark is. So even asking, and the reason why I'm thinking about this is because you're talking about it in the context of our marriage. And I remember thinking I was doing a lot of things that, you would like,
Yeah.
but I never actually asked you, like, do you like this or that or whatever it is?
I remember when you did, actually.
And when I started asking you, it was such a shortcut to be able to get better at things I wanted to get better at.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because that is a jumbled way, whoever's following that, it's like, well, what the hell are you talking about, right?
Give me an example.
Yeah.
Give me concrete.
Right. So something that I asked you, I remember thinking this when you got home. I remember really thinking that what you wanted when you got home from a long day was me to talk to you. I was like, I really thought that
I don't talk to enough people.
I really thought that part of what you were wanting at the end of your day is my wit, my charm, and entertaining you with stories. So
Which are all great things.
Right.
Stellar things.
Right. Well, I thought that that's just the thing you were craving the most after spending a full day with patients. So I would intentionally think, okay, like, what am I going to talk about today? Or is there something new that I learned or an interesting thing that I thought or whatever it is? Because I wanted to have that prepared when you got home as a conversation starter.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I did this for literal years.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Right. And then one day I asked you.
To your credit, you were very faithful in doing that.
Well, yeah. When you think you're doing something that people like, you keep on. You know, nobody.
The people love the joke. I'm telling the joke.
Right. Nobody told me to stop tap dancing, so I kept going. So one day I asked you. I said,
So good.
"Hey, when you get home, do you like me talking to you?" And you were like, "No, not really. What I would really like is to take a shower and be unbothered for 30 minutes while I decompress, and then I will come out and I'll be ready to, do the family thing." And I was like, wow, shit, I wish you would have told me that ages ago. It would have saved us, but it would have saved your ears and would have saved me a lot of stress coming up with topics of conversation.
Literally coming up with topics of conversation. I remember you telling me that. You were like, oh, I don't have to plan my skit for tonight. I was like, no, you do not.
Listen, I'm committed, if nothing, to not being a bore. Okay.
And a bore you are not. Podcast is foolproof.
Well, I don't know. Who knows how many people are watching it? We just talk because we just talk because we enjoy it. Well, if 7 are watching it, that's not necessarily the worst thing, because I noticed that my posture isn't great. So,
I gave up on that a long time ago. People were like, man, you should teach an ergonomics class. I'm like, no, I shouldn't.
well,
I'm always like this, trying to see what's going on.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That could be the case. But for me, bad posture makes me ugly. Maybe that's for everybody. I think bad posture makes people uglier.
Oh, I don't think it's an attractive quality. No, I don't think anyone's like, you should hunch to get more people to like you. This is what really gets the girls at the bar. I don't think so.
I know, but I don't like watching these podcasts back because I'm like, oh my gosh, sit up straight. That's so ugly.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, back to the topic.
But it's interesting because the idea of a network, I was trying to think of a good analogy for this, and it may hit, may not. But the idea of having land and real estate, you have these acres of land, and let's just say for this example that you've got untapped, literal oil reserves or whatever else under the ground. The more land you have, great, awesome. You can have all these friends, all these people, all these things, but if you don't know how to actually tap into those resources, having more doesn't necessarily get you more. And so the quality of those places, and also knowing kind of you're saying, you surgically went into our relationship and said, how do I do this more efficiently? How do I mine the resource better? How do I serve you better? And I think we lack that as a skill set. People are very bad communicators.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Right? And so knowing how to not only ask for what it is that you need, but also know what are you willing to give in return for that ahead of asking for that thing. Mm-hmm. Right? That is what I'm always expecting of my team. Give me first. Not because I need you to do that, but that's because that is the right way to do it. Give, be proactive, push harder, stay later. If you do that and you're giving first, you're going to get your ask so much better.
Well, yes, a concrete example of that is, hello, can I please have a raise? Well, you're late. You're not any good at your job. Well, I promise I'll be on time and be good at my job if I get the raise. Like, that is
right.
Insane thinking.
It's insane thinking. Absolutely. So I do think that it's such a good conversation for people to at least be, if you listen to this, you should be stopping and asking yourself, almost taking like an inventory of, where are your acres of land? Like, where are your networks? And so it's like your patient pool, your family, your immediate friends. Even like we would talk about, like Lazara, right? You have colleagues, doctors that you've come across, and is there not so much that you could gain from other dentists? They're in the same field as you. If they've learned something, if they've cut down on the amount of labor or time or energy that's required to get a better output, like, man, saddle up next to those people, right? Be around success. And I think people are still addicted a little bit to the DIY approach. As a recovering DIY holic myself, I get it. You know, I get wanting to kind of, it's an American thing to some degree, right? Bootstraps, my way, independence, blah, blah, blah. But there's not as much of an emphasis upon community. And I think we pine for that. You know, we do want that as people. There's at least a hole inside you that wants that and needs it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's really true. I also think that, I mean, you and I have talked about, I think we've said this maybe somewhere else, I'm not sure, on a podcast or otherwise, but that two of our closest friends we've paid for.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
We've talked about paid for two of our closest
100%.
friends. It was during the time that we were doing a lot of work with David Nagel, which we've talked about before.
100%.
Is where we've met two of our closest friends.
Yeah.
And they are, that's why I say that those were paid friendships, because had they not paid to be in that room, had we not paid to be in that room, and then future rooms at higher price points that the four of us went to, we wouldn't have the friendship that we currently have.
Right.
And which that friendship is invaluable.
100%.
From the perspective of these
gosh,
are two people that are in completely different businesses than we are, whose opinions, very successful, both of them are, whose opinions we trust, whether it's business, relationship, or otherwise.
Parenting. I mean, when I say that they're successful, they're very successful because, and I've changed my definition of that, I think, more so lately than in any other point in my life, where if I'm going to say someone is successful, I'm really looking for that holistic approach.
Right.
I want to see that you can actually, you can produce a result in your business that is top notch. I want to see that you are keeping your marriage not only together, but that you are growing together, not further apart. And I want to see that you are raising children and you're raising them in a way that I can respect and appreciate, and that you can communicate, right?
Yeah.
If you can't do all those things, you're just a lower degree of success, but I wouldn't call you successful, right?
Right.
And that's not to knock anyone. It's just, that's what I'm looking for. I want to find people that have the well-rounded approach towards things.
Yeah.
But that's a pair of people that have heavily influenced our life.
Yeah. I mean, the khakis are fit, fabulous, and fun.
I wasn't sure if you're going to name them, but shout out khakis. We love you.
Right. But
beep, beep, buddy.
But we have, I mean, those are, if we hadn't paid to be in certain rooms, those are people we would have never met otherwise. We do not live in the same state. We do not, we're not in the same business. And
they wouldn't have benefited from us. I mean, they wouldn't have the McConaughey in voice memos if they didn't.
Yeah, right.
No, I completely agree with you. It's there's friendships that you pay for, and it sounds bad to say that, but the reality is you're paying to be in a group or to have access to a certain network in order to benefit yourself, but then you become kind of side by side, shoulder to shoulder with people who have very similar mindsets and goals to you. And legitimately, that's been probably if a person was to ask us what our secret weapon is, I'd say it's twofold. I think it's our faith. We have nothing, we have faith. If we have lots, we have faith. And that's an important piece. And the second would be truly knowing how to essentially condense that timeline, shorten the time frame of success by really being of immense value to somebody who can condense that timeline for you. A great example of this is the JCD. Remember that? Like,
Yeah.
we
Right.
put immense work in on behalf of the editorial team. We were asked to do a small article. It was back in 2018, D-Rock? 18, 17? I literally can't remember. I think it was 2018. JCD article. It was going to be a little, right? Like one pager.
Yeah.
in the
It was,
middle.
yeah, it was just,
The sub article.
yeah. Right.
And we started working on it, and the ideas just kept popping, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and more creative. And so the idea came to, at the very least, write the article for them and to go above and beyond, because we knew that that was a prestigious journal. It still is. And we knew that if we could get into that article and do it really well, that maybe, just maybe, someone would appreciate that. They would see that. That we'd get recognized for that. Well, we ended up going far above and beyond, like a lot,
Yeah.
in terms of actually legitimately studying the journal, what their margins were, what the typeface was, how many sponsored ads there were, like everything. And we mapped out the entire article for them, wrote it all, page numbers, everything, imagery, and said, if the cover is available, we'll take the cover. And we got the cover,
Right.
right? Why? Because we put in all the effort on the front end, right? So you increase your network and your net worth by putting in the work ahead of time. Nothing's for free, is what I'm getting at.
Right. Right. And I mean, this, if people actually listened to what we're saying in this podcast, it would like literally be a game changer, because so few people operate this way that if you're one of the people who do, it's so easy to stand out.
Yeah.
I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but when you and I do something, right? We sign up to work with a mentor, we sign up for a course. Both of us take the mentality that we want to be the top performer in that thing,
Star student.
right? We want that. Of course we do.
Well, hey, if you ain't first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
Shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake. Right? But that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, that person, then you become what? You become a testimonial.
Right.
You have a relationship. You say, hey, I'm one of your top performers. I need a little help with this. Can you help me? Yes, because I know that if I give you that help, I know that you're going to take it and multiply it and do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why we have so many relationships outside of dentistry in the entrepreneurial world, because we started off as students of those people,
Right.
right? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to take your course, I'm going to do shit with it and then expect a relationship. Like, that's insane.
Well, this is a really cool, this is a turning point in this conversation a little bit, because you're talking about being the star student. And part of the reason why we do that and why we've always hungered to be that person, it's a little bit twofold. One is that when you do it that way, you obviously grab the attention of the person that you are working with or for, okay? And by doing so, you can drastically decrease the amount of labor and inefficiencies that you have to go through, right? Like dramatically. But, and what that really comes down to is you're trying to build a reputation, right? We talk about that with our kids all the time.
Yes.
You can build a reputation for your entire life and you can lose it in a minute. And so you and I, it's not about patting ourselves on the back. It's that there's a reputation to uphold,
Absolutely.
right? And we tell our kids all the way, you're a Dietrich. You will do this. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you feel. This is what you'll do.
Right. We don't run our family in like, hey, you're an individual. You're under a brand.
You're under a brand.
You're under a family brand, right?
It's a Fendi brand.
Right. You're under a brand, a family brand, like our
Are
household.
available Fendi. We can be bought.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is
I love
not,
that.
oh, whatever I feel like doing because I'm an individual. Well, you're part of a family. There is a reputation as a family
Yeah.
that we will uphold, and you will uphold that too.
The reason why that's so powerful, though, and the second piece to this, the switch, as it were, is that you and I have always wanted to be people that can help others as well, because we've been helped so many
Of course,
times.
yes.
And so as you amass and build and curate, nurture your network, you start to get a very, very good pulse on the people that you can send people to. You can cut down the timeline for others. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of our coaching clients, right, private coaching clients, people who've worked with us in any sort of private capacity or one-on-one capacity, that's what they get to experience. If someone was like, I've always wanted to write an article for Inside Dentistry, JCD, for whatever, like, I know the editor-in-chief. I can get you taken care of that way. Now you have to show it to me. You got to prove it to me that you have the work ethic, the creativity, et cetera. But if you got that, instead of you having to try to like go through a million different channels, like, there you go, right? If you want to cut down on the time frame of being able to coach with someone who's going to really move the needle for you, whatever else it is, you want shoes from Canada, like, we got you covered. You start to amass that network so that you can give. It's not always about getting with your network. It actually is very much about giving. And I think that's an important distinction to make, at the very least.
For sure. Well, absolutely. The giving is part of the fun, right? Because again, if it's not a relationship where both people are really, and I think that's the caveat, both people have to be playing to their fullest potential.
Yeah.
Right. It does become like
that's what we said in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I do want to give to you. I want you, and the reciprocity starts to be a really fun thing, because the relationships where somebody just wants to take, those only work for so long before the other person gets really bored by it. You get tired of it.
Right. Yeah. The handouts have an end.
They do. And those relationships come crashing down.
Right. There's nothing wrong with extending a little help to somebody who needs it in that moment in time. And it's not even that, like, I need something in return. But if it's a consistent ask and you're doing nothing to better your situation, that's a problem.
Right.
Versus someone who you can really admire is trying to do it. I saw a video the other day, and there's a gentleman who, that guy that goes around and like asks you for money. And
oh yes,
right?
Yeah,
and,
I like
and
those.
they're like, oh yeah, I'll give you some money. And then he gets their story, and it's like they're destitute and they're trying to take care of a sick loved one and whatever else. This guy's name is Mario, and he was, was taking care of his daughter who had been beat up at school and had, I think, been disabled through that.
Oh my gosh.
And he was just looking for work, and he'd been sleeping outside to try to take care of her. And it was just like this heartbreaking story. And yet he had a little bit of cash on hand, and he gave like 5 of his $10 to this guy, right? So the guy comes back the next day and he gives him $1,000. And Mario's like, no. Like, I will work for it. I'll work for it. Oh, please, like, I want a job. I don't want your money. I don't want a handout. I want to work. So then he comes back the next day, and he had $100,000 he had raised from all of his friends. And he had a buddy who had a warehouse who said, Mario, I want to hire you as my manager. And I was like, I was start bawling. I had 2 daughters now, so all the waterworks come when you have daughters. But I was just dying. And I thought, that's it. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a person who says, I'm willing. In essence, nothing is for free. Again, he's willing to give. And it's because of that it's not even that you're giving him anything.
Right.
It's like, I have the chance, the privilege of being able to honor what you're willing to give. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really what I think when you see someone who's willing to put in the hard work and the time and the effort, you want to help that. You want it to be seen. The world needs more of that, right? Less handouts, more of these people who are actually putting in the work.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Send that to me.
I will. I think I did. It's actually in one of the 7 videos that you haven't watched yet. While we're sitting on the couch next to each other.
Okay, so this brings up something interesting. There's another opportunity for experience at Vita.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the email you sent out is literally one of my favorites, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
In another podcast, because I really want to. It was so good. I told you you've written a lot of emails, and maybe
I've written a lot of emails.
my favorite one that you've ever written. So
thank you.
We'll set that up for later to talk about that. But speaking of network, what have you seen with people who have come out to Vita and done the experience there?
Yeah. So the Vita experience is called ThriveX, and the Thrive experience. So clever. It's this actually, shockingly. It's an amazing 2 days. The 2 days are, one is what I've always wanted, right? Sometimes you go to a live experience, a hands-on patient experience, and you kind of see a cherry-picked case, and that's the only thing you're seeing that day, which is great. And it's awesome. It's really good for learning and seeing how that case is done. But I want, and I've always wanted doctors to see kind of the madness and chaos of a practice in flow for a day. I want you to see our mistakes. I want you to see the balls dropped. I want you to see how we're communicating with patients, how I'm handling, stacked columns, how Devin's handling stacked columns. Like that's important to me because that's most of our lives. It's not cherry picked. And so it's very real life, right? And that's day one. And day one, I'm doing a full arch, I'm doing seats, and I'm doing composite restorations and consults and ortho checks and everything else. So you get to really see a really very successful practice in real life. And then the second day, we are breaking it down into a lot more of these kind of bite-sized workshops. So the first is photography because Dylan comes down for it, and we basically teach you how we do our photography. And it's fast, it's awesome, it's luxe, it's beautiful, and it puts marketing, that power, in your hands. Mm-hmm. And even if you're great at photography, you're still going to learn things. That's why I would look at this stuff. Like I've seen and done hundreds of full arches, and if there's somebody, if Duvall or Apple was like, come on out, I'd be like, hell yeah, of course. Right. I have my style, sure, but you think I can't learn something from something like that?
Right.
And so, yeah, that's a big piece of it. Then the case that I do, we just 3D print a number of those models, as well as all of the matrices and jigs and bites and all the rest, so that you can actually prep and perform the case. You got to see it in real life. Now you get to perform it on a 3D model. And so you're getting that side of it too. So you're getting the prep and the dentistry side, the clinical, you're getting photography, and then we work on your business. And we map out a game plan for you. So it's a beautiful, amazing second day. You wrap all that up and it's like, man, that is jam-packed, awesome, right? But the network is you have access to me in a very unique way. You have access to Dylan in a very unique way. And really by access to me, you kind of have access to you and our network. So you have dentists who can pick our brains, and I don't give that access to other people.
Right.
Right? I mean, it is what it is. You pay to play.
Right.
Right? So when you come out, like that's what you're paying for. You're paying to get my brain, my experience, my mistakes, my network. And now I get to connect you to those things, and I get to shorten your time frame. And is it worth it to shave off 6 months of mistakes? Maybe going to a bunch of courses or videos or wherever else, just trying to find an answer to a single solution that I could give you because I have it already. Mm-hmm. We give you manuals, we give you cheat sheets, we give you prep and prep checklists, seat checklists, like all the rest. It's like, that's all done for you. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I love it. I love it because it's actually probably the most compact form of giving that I can possibly create.
Yeah, I agree. I usually join you for one of the nights for dinner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the dinners. Oof.
Yeah, always. Yeah, I just show up for the food, people. But
You're the entertainment. You're the entertainment. You're always just hilarious. Just the conversations there.
That's true.
And the Fendi boots.
It's true. What I can promise you, I'll serve you food and serve you a look.
Serving fits, guys. No big deal.
No, but those dinners are always so fun because I think people really get to open up about their practices, get to have their questions answered. This is what I'm dealing with in my practice, whether good or bad, right? But this is the thing that I'm trying to do. This is where I want to go. How do I get there? What have you seen? Yeah. And because we've had so many conversations, I mean, we've been in the lives of dentists for almost a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's valuable. Like just knowing other people go through this, or, the smorgasbord of, well, I've seen it done this way, this way, this way, and this way. It sounds like this might be the best one for you. You don't get that from just going into a Facebook group. You don't get that from going into a dental town or wherever else. You're going to get some good things, but you're going to get a massive polling of stuff. And you can't ever really trust the authority of, I've gone through this and I would tell you this is the answer for you. That's actually really helpful when you have someone surgically say, this is what I would do for you and this is why. But we do it all day long. We do it with our patients. The patient could go to any number of forums to find out what they should be diagnosed with and what they should do. But it's so helpful to go to a dentist who explains why and gives them an answer. And my patients love that. They love the fact that I can very concisely say, this is what I think is going on, and this is what I would do, and this is why.
Right. Well,
You want that.
nothing is worse than going to an expert. That's why you're going to an expert.
Correct.
I have a problem that I have not been able to solve myself. I am therefore seeking out expert advice so that I can find an answer. There's nothing worse than going to that person and that person being like, well, you got a lot of choices that you could make. Well, then why am I talking to you? If you can't direct me any further than I've directed myself, what are you here for?
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So I think to the point of
100%.
the network too, because we've seen so many different dentists do it so many different ways, and we've talked about that in previous podcasts, how there is really the option to engineer something completely different, which we've helped a lot of different clients do.
Yeah.
Because we've been able to do that, there is also, hey, so-and-so has done it this way. They're currently doing it this way. It's absolutely a smashing success. Why don't I connect you with them?
Right.
So you can talk to them or see it in real life, or, right? Because it might not be something that we're doing, but it could be something that we helped somebody else build and they're doing it really well at a level
sure.
that's incredible, right?
Yeah. You want to do cosmetics, you want to do biomimetics, you want to do biologic dentistry. Like, we've coached those people. We've coached them to a practice level where they're smashing it. And they're known for that type of dentistry. So if you're like, I kind of want to cut out the noise and I want to focus on this. This is what lights me up. This is where I feel my calling is, my purpose. Great. We can actually connect you with a person who does that at the highest level. That's really cool.
It is.
That's really, really cool. And so, I think there's so many benefits from the event, but I think that's probably one of the biggest ones, and we do them pretty routinely. So yeah, if a person is interested, they should definitely apply. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next Dental and Mental podcast.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening and or watching the Dental and Mental podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any others for that matter, feel free to tap that subscribe button on YouTube, Apple, Amazon, as well as Spotify. While you're there, why not leave us a review up to 5 stars? And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what topic you want us to discuss next.
If you like what you heard today and you want to be involved in the Thrive world, from coaching to courses or just to connect with us, go to thethrivedentist.com.